Hello. So far, we discussed about the structural details and bit operational details of these two variations of the LED configurations, surface emitters and edge emitters. Both are categorized under direct and indirect band gap materials. So, by looking at the discussions, it is clear that the main key point for the operation of these LEDs is the active reason. So that is a main focusing point here. Otherwise, their structures may be like H shape or maybe a rectangular shape like edge emitter. So the objective of any type of LED is to provide a more coherent optical beam involving the concepts of optical confinement and carrier confinement. So this active reason, if you look at the structural details of these two variations of LEDs, is made up of three layers. Their material composition may be different, but their functions will be remaining same. The middle one is acting like a core, and the two surrounding layers are acting like cladding, which are exactly resembling the characteristics of those of the optical fiber, which is to be metallically communicated here. So that is three layers acting like a heterojunction part for this LED, where recombination process is taking place. Two cladding layers will take part in the optical confinement, that is a light guiding layers. They're acting like light guiding layers, and recombination is happening in the middle layer, that is a core part. Actually, it is not the core part, it is resembling to that of the core of the optical fiber. So these three layers are their structure, and what they are doing is going to be the heart of these discussions. And we have discussed clearly that apart from their structural details, what are the main reasons which are contributing for the generation of such coherent beam? Because in surface emitter, we got isotropic shaped pattern of the light beam compared to the edge emitter. Here you can see a little bit optical or elliptical shaped light beam we are getting. So what the pattern we are getting for the light, it will depends on how the recombination is happening here in the middle part, middle layer. That is a P layer. Maybe it is a edge or surface emitter. So we know that without a recombination, there is nothing is there to discuss about this LED. So the recombination process. So for today's discussion, the main conceptual things that I am focusing are with respect to some mathematical flavor are this recombination process and the main concept underlying the LED, that is spontaneous emission. We all know that the basic concept of this LED, the emission, that is directly or indirectly leading to the recombination. See, the recombination is how it is happening is we all know that. So whenever the majority carriers from the top layer or the conduction band will fall through the band gap to the valence band, They will reach the valence band and recombine with the holes there. Then light will be liberated. So recombination is a main phenomena that is leading to the generation of light or emission of light. And moreover, all light rays are not allowed to leave the LED. Again, we put forth one more condition there. Only those light rays which are coming are governed by the critical angle. The cone angle, which is formed or governed by the critical angle, are allowed to uh, exit from this LED. Later, that is going to lead to the carrier confinement, and later optical confinement will be taken care by these light guiding layers. So how well this recombination is happening, that is going to decide the coherency or radiance of the emitted light from the LED. So on what factors this recombination is depending on, apart besides structural things, structural details that already we have discussed. Because the actual efficiency, if you want to measure of this LED, will depends on this recombination process only. Means that uh, it is actually initiated by the carrier injection. If you uh, go back to these slides, the previous discussions, we are injecting the carriers there. So here you can see the carrier injection is taking place. The substrate layer, the n-type substrate layer may be here or here the substrate wherever you are getting this one, the surface emitter or in the edge emitter. So wherever you are getting the substrate is taking part in that. So the carrier injection layer, carriers are injected. Majority of the carriers are injected into the top layer. Why? Because we want more carriers to fall from the top, that is from the conduction to the valence band. And we all know the conditions there which will exist in the situation in which the recombination process is taking place. Uh, the band gap energy is reduced so that it is not going to provide more resistance to the falling of electrons from the conduction to valence band, so that they can uh, fall more in number freely than compared to the previous one when the band gap energy is large. So we want more number of these majority carriers to fall from top to bottom, and more of them will to join in the recombination process. That is by the help use of the holes in the valence band. Means actually the recombination process directly depends on the density of these carriers injected. How many of them are injected, how many of them are making to fall successfully, and how many of them who actually fallen will be recombining successfully. So all these things are going to matter here. If at all, if you want to measure for today's discussion the quantum efficiency or the power of the LED, it just depends on these carriers which are injected, how many of them are successful in falling or crossing the band gap and leading to the recombination successfully. So, except that before the injection, it is in the equilibrium state. If you assume, for example, because it is heterogeneous structure for the LED, we gone for the heterogeneous LED, we have given sufficient reasons and justifications for that. Why we have gone for the heterogeneous from the homojunction LEDs. If you want, you can see my previous videos again and again, you can understand. Even you can also refer to the textbooks which are available online. I have told it previous few classes. You will get the materials there. So for today's discussion, after looking at this background, So let us move forward with the initial things, because as it is a heterogeneous structure, we have given sufficient justification. I am repeating this again and again. We have given sufficient justification, valuable justification, why we gone for the LED structures which have got heterogeneous structures. Heterogeneous means N type and P type, uh, different layers you have seen, no, in case of surface or edge emitters, are made up of different materials itself. All atoms are not came from the, not belongs to same material. They are belong to different materials. That is heterogeneous structure. So if we represent the excess holes or electrons in N and P type materials, which are actually created by this carrier injection. Okay. So as I just mentioned, before you do carrier injection or after the carrier injection, after some time has lapsed, the density of these majority carriers in the top and bottom layers will reach equilibrium value with the exponential decay. If you assume the N naught is initial injected electron density, then exponential decay is given by this exponential negative factor to the power of a negative, that is minus t by 2 towards the carrier lifetime. So how long the measured carriers will remain there in the conduction band, and they will fall to the valence band. That will matter here to decide that decay rate. So with this exponential decay, so that's what I'm telling. We are considering the case after doing carrier injection with this much of decay, e to the power of minus t by 2, if we will assume N naught is the initial injected electron density, with the lapse of time, it will decay exponentially. But till that time, before it will decay, what will happen? Means now we are discussing about the moment when we inject the carriers, or carriers are injected by these substrate layers in the LED structures, to the time till these injected carriers will cross over their carrier lifetime in the top layer, and majority of them will fall down the band gap and lead to the recombination process in the valence band. So recombination is happening either radiatively or non-radiatively. So we are discussing this one since in the beginning of this module, I have told you to remember that the diagram concerned to the direct or indirect band gap diagram. So the main difference is there is that if you just try to recall now or maybe later, you can see the videos again and again, you can understand. So the main basic difference we have observed there in the previous, in the initial stage of this module, the difference between direct and indirect band gap is the radiation itself. In both the cases, the electrons are falling from the top to bottom layers. Okay, if you just try to recall, both are similar in that aspect, but uh, because of the difference in the moment, moment, momentum, if you want, you can tell more clearly of the charge, these charge carriers which will exist in the top layer is quite going to be different in both the cases. It is equal in direct and in unequal in case of indirect band materials. Because of this, we'll get more defined radiation in case of direct, and more focused in case of indirect. Why focused in case of indirect? Because their addition is happening in some direction and subtraction in another direction. because of the unequal movements of these carriers. Now, if you consider that case, radiatively means the photon of energy hv, Planck's constant in the velocity, is emitted. That is equal to the band gap energy is emitted. So when the electron is falling from the top layer, still it has not yet reached the valence band, then the some part of its energy. So while falling, if any object is falling from the top to bottom, then we are getting the energy because of its the mass and the position or distance what it has got initially. That we call it as a potential energy. Okay, that is equivalent to the band gap energy. With that energy, it is coming down, falling. That is contributing for the radiation. Because of that, also it is losing most of the energy. Then somehow, if it has left with some energy, then it will somehow make to reach the valence band and involve in the recombination process. That is one thing. This is radiatively how some of the uh, carriers, excess carriers taking part. The second one, non-radiatively. Self-absorption, carrier recombination at the heterostructure interfaces means uh, this category of majority carrier which is falling from top to bottom, that is categorized here, shown here it is as a non-radiatively. It is not radiating any energy while falling through the band gap. It is not going to achieve any kind of energy equivalent to the band gap, and that's why it is known as a self-absorption, because the band gap energy has been kept small. Because we discussed it in the last few classes, to make this recombination process more effectively, we gone through two important conditions: very much restricted region, and the second one, 1 minute. Okay. So coming back to this one, so that's why it is going to create some nuisance when we're discussing the things here. So we are discussing about to make these recombinations more effective, we have to let this phenomenon to happen in a very restricted region, small region. And the second thing is that band gap energy. Okay, how small you can keep this band gap energy, you can make more density of the carriers to take place in recombination in a small region. That is going to lead to more effective recombination and more effective generation of the LED rays, light rays. So the thing is that what the concept or the thing which is underlying I want to infer from this one is, so one thing is that by keeping the band gap in this small, we are letting, that is physically observing, we are observing by the sentence, we are letting more carriers to fall. Density is increasing. The density of majority carriers which are taking part in the recombination process. And at the same time, so what is happening? Another inference what we are drawing from this one is that uh, the the number of the carriers which are taking part in this recombination process with radiation has drastically been reduced, because we don't want that, because they are losing some of its energy and then taking part in the recombination, that we don't want. Means that can also be reduced by keeping this band gap energy small. And we are interested with much with this non-radiative categorized carriers. Are you understand? This is another inference we can make. See, such things we have to uh, get to know by reading the things carefully, because such things cannot be understood once or twice or reading. It takes some time to consolidate, to settle down the things. So things are there. If you restrict the boundary, then it takes more time to understand. If you go beyond the boundary, referring one item instead of one item, two or three items, if you refer, uh, that will widen your horizon and will let you to have more information and understand and settle the things immediately. So it totally depends on two things: your horizon. That is all. That your horizon will decide how fast you are going to grasp the things. So now we understood clearly that why we are categorizing the carriers which are falling from top to bottom layers as radiative and non-radiative, and that too we are preferring to the non-radiative things by keeping the band gap energy small. So these are the two things by which the carriers are taking part in the recombination process. Okay, now still we are in the initial stage. Just the carriers has been injecting. Now here after reaching the valence band, okay, the energy released during the electron hole recombination. You try to understand here. He is not telling the energy released during the falling. He is telling the energy released during the electron hole recombination. While falling, what energy has been released? That is potential energy because of its position, potential. Potential it has got because of its position, height. Okay. So when it will make itself to the valence band and find the hole, electron will join it with some velocity. That is kinetic energy. Okay. So with what velocity it has reached the valence band and combining with the hole, with what velocity? That is, a kinetic energy is transferred from it to the hole. That process is known as a uh, handing over the energy from electron to hole during the recombination. That is known as the Auger process. That's all. So like that, with the two critical things there in the recombination process, we want to have the constant current flow in the LED before will see or reach the equilibrium condition. Means before this decay will takes place. So this will depends on the density, how many you are injecting and how many are taking part in the recombination process. And the equilibrium or stabilization means excess density of electrons in the n and holes in the p region is equal as injected carriers are created and recombined in pairs. Okay, they created and it's injected. Created means they are actually injected and recombined. Because of injection only, recombination is happening. So in other words, what he is telling is that a law of conservation. So energy neither be created nor be destroyed, like that. Whatever you injected should be recombined. That's all. So if you want to see in mathematical terms, okay. So let us see how many are actually injected by this carrier injection process by the substrate layer. So the total the carriers which are actually generated or injected will make equal to externally supplied means injected plus thermally generated. If you combine these two, that will give the total. Okay, total carriers which are generated. Okay. So externally supplied, he will give or denoted by this equation that is equal to J by QD. J is the current density, divided by Q the charge, and the D the distance. So substrate layer is going to inject the carriers, majority carriers, with particular uh, in numbers, that is the current density with the charge and a particular distance. That is externally supplied because it is injected from the adjacent layer, that is substrate layer. So if you represent this external supplied by J by QD and thermally generated carriers by N by 2, N the number which is generated by 2 to just we have seen carrier lifetime. Hence the rate equation for the carrier recombination. If you add these two, we'll get the total carrier generated, J by QD plus N by 2. Are you getting this? Because of carrier injection, you got J by QD number of carriers. Because of thermal agitation, you are getting the majority carriers, which are actually small in number, N by 2. If you add these two, you get the total carriers, which are actually contributing for the recombination. Going to take part later in the recombination, maybe radiatively or non-radiatively. But how we can make out because if you add these two, you get the total carriers which are taking part in recombination. But out of these, how many are actually or effectively taking part in the recombination? So actually, what he is telling in the discussion, uh, he is telling that the carriers, because of the thermal agitation, are not taking part. He is going to stop that. That is representing by this equation. That J by QD minus N by 2. Going to indicate it by dN by dt. So the rate equation for the carrier recombination, effective recombination is coating is happening because of the carrier injection, mainly because of the carrier injection. That is the meaning. And if you want to understand what is happening with equilibrium condition, if you make substitution for n equal to J2 by QD here in this equation, n is there, no, n by 2. Here for n you can substitute J by QD. So this tau in the denominator and this tau in the numerator will got cancelled. You left with J by QD. This J by QD minus J by QD will get you dN by dt 0. That is the equilibrium condition. Means recombination has stopped. So this relationship gives steady state electron. The steady state means stabilized, no more movements are happening in the active region when the constant current is flowing through it. So these are the initial things. We started with assuming the initial injected electron density n naught that is going to decay at the rate of e to the power of minus t by 2 exponentially. So before going to decay completely to zero, we have seen the injected carriers are taking part in the recombination in the two ways, either radiatively or non-radiatively, and we have justified sufficiently here that non-radiative category people are more counting, preferring than radiatively. It doesn't mean that radiatively category carriers are not preferring, but are in less number compared to this. So how many of them are actually owing to part in the recombination process, externally generated plus the Joe generated by the thermal agitation, J by QD plus N by 2. Out of this, only J by QD are going to take part more effectively compared to this. That is the meaning. So with this decay, then we will see the steady state has been reached, recombination has happened, and constant current will start flowing. So how we can reach at the discussion of this what could be the efficiency, internal quantum efficiency in the active region where this recombination process is taking place. So with this initial setup, the internal quantum efficiency zeta internal in the active region where recombination is happening is the sample, a fraction of the electron hole pair that recombined radiatively, listen here, radiatively. Recombination is happening. We are taking the sample of recombination happening because of radiatively majority carriers, electron hole pairs, and is defined as the ratio of radiative recombination to the total. Here you can see. So the recombination which is happening because of the carriers which are falling radiatively divided by the total the recombination which is happening because of the radiative and non-radiative. If n are excess carriers, then radiative lifetime will be given by this formula n by rr. Radiative lifetime. To that is r sufficient will indicate the lifetime of the carriers because of the radiatively they are falling to the valence band. Non-radiative is indicated by n by r nr. So the internal quantum efficiency, if you manipulate this by taking RR as a common from both the numerator and the denominator, we'll get it like this. This is internal quantum efficiency. We are not doing anything here in this slide. Totally, the internal quantum efficiency, just to summarize with this slide to tell here, it is simply the ratio of radiative recombination rate to the total recombination rate. That only we are trying to put it in mathematically with some notations. RR radiative recombination rate, RNR non-radiative recombination rate. With the 2R and 2NR you have to write with their respective lifetime of the carriers. So this is internal quantum efficiency. The recombination time of carriers in the active region is 2 and is also known as a bulk recombination lifetime. Because why it is called bulk? Because we know that in density of the carriers which are taking part ultimately in at the end of the recombination is huge. So this efficiency recombination depends on this density, and we need to take the average lifetime of all these carriers, and that can be represented by like this. That is 1 by 2 equal to 1 by 2r plus 1 by 2nr, a parallel combination of these two like resistors. So therefore, the internal quantum efficiency can be now expressed like this. So because in the previous slide we have seen it as a 1 by 1 plus 2r by 2nr. So if the current injected into the LED is I and Q is the electron charge, then total number of recombination which are happening every second is given by this equation. That is RR because of a radiative recombination rate plus RNR non-radiative recombination rate, that is equal to I by Q. I by Q it will give you the number of recombination which are happening every second. And by using the previous internal quantum efficiency, this one equation, RR plus RNR, you can substitute this one here, you will get this. That is RR equal to RNR. You can use this equation and this one, will get this one. Simple manipulations. So ultimately, the optical power generated internally is given by P internal optical power generated is given by radiative recombination rate RR into HV. So RR just we got, that is internal quantum efficiency into I by Q into HV. So V is given by C by lambda in terms of wavelength, and this final equation we are getting for the optical power internally generated in the LED. So it is what are the inferences or observations we are making from this equation? Not all internally generated photons will be available from the output device. Obviously, because only those which are governed by the cone angle defined by the critical angle are allowed to emit. External quantum efficiency is used to calculate the emitted power. This is internal. Just now what we did, internal quantum efficiency we calculated and internal optical power generation we have calculated. Okay. Then now we'll go for after internally all the things are happened which are actually now governed by this, which are happening inside the LED, also governed by the concept of carrier confinement, internal quantum efficiency and the internal optical power. With this internal optical power generated, next we have to estimate or to discuss how much external quantum power we are getting. That can be defined as the ratio of photons emitted from LED to the number of photons actually generated. These are actually generated internal optical power. Out of this, how many of them are actual? Because just we quoted, we know that only those which are falling or governed, falling within the cone angle governed by the critical angle are allowed to emit. So let us see how to find out that one. So this one is important. This already we have seen. You can see only the rays which are falling in this cone angle are allowed to emit. That is pi c approximately equal. This is 90 degree. We are observing here. 90 minus theta c will give you uh, this remaining angle, the cone angle. So whatever the rays which are falling within this cone are allowed to emit. So this pi c can also be given by in terms of indices sine inverse of n2 by n1, or sine pi c is as per the Snell's law. If you take this as a pi c, as per the Snell's law, n1 is here and n2 is here, the core and air or some other another medium. We'll get it as sine pi c equal to n2 by n1 or pi c equal to sine inverse by n2 by n1. So n2 is the Ri of semiconductor material and n1 is the Ri of the outside material as per this context. So it's taking n2 is this one and n1 is this. So external quantum efficiency. So one more good thing guys, I want to mention, no derivation is there for this one. You just have to remember this. At least you have to remember this and to go forward. We are directly making use of this equation from the textbook. So external quantum efficiency, zeta external is given by 1 by 4 pi. We are integrating because we are interested in the value, interested in the density of the carriers or the photons which are falling within this cone. So we need to estimate the area under this cone, that is 0 to pi c. There is T of pi, 2 pi sin pi d pi, where T of pi is the Fresnel transmission coefficient, because we know that Fresnel transmission is the phenomena that we have discussed in case of scattering concept. Fresnel reflection, that is one of the uh, factor which is contributing much, that is 90% of the absorption. That is scattering loss. 90% of the scattering is happening, contributing for the absorption. That is actually known here it as a Fresnel transmittivity. So this factor depends on incident angle pi, and with respect to normal incidence, normal means orthogonal, is given by T of 0 You have to remember this again. 4n1 n2 by n1 plus n2 whole square. And assuming the outside medium is here and letting n1 equal to n. Outside medium n1 you have taken. And we assuming the outside medium is here. And representing this Ri as n. N1 means n. You substitute n1 equal to n here. You will get this equation reduced to 4n. N1 means n you can substitute here. Finally, it will be reduced to 4n by n plus 1 whole square. Okay. So how he is getting? He representing n1 equal to n. He might be taking n2. It is something. So n2 equal to n. This you make correction. You make okay, correct. He is correctly has given. Assuming the outside medium is here means you will get outside medium, that is n1 is 1. N1 is 1 will happen. Outside material. Okay, outside medium is here. And n1 refractive index. Okay, n2 equal to n. You have to write n2 equal to n. So you'll get it as this equation reduced to 4n by n plus 1 whole square. So the external quantum efficiency then be given by this equation, that is T of 0. Just we are at this limitation, lower limit, that is T of 0. This one is given by 1 by n into bracket n plus 1 whole square. So this also you have to remember, we don't want any of the intermediate steps here. So the optical power emitted from the LED is given by zeta external into internal power what is generated is given by this. So in this context, you have to start with this equation, and we are highlighting or signifying, or we are stressing more on this Fresnel transmittivity. So why we are considering this T of pi, not other factors? Because we know that absorption is mainly contributed by 90% scattering. That is because of Fresnel reflection. You have to mention this in your sentences if you are presenting this one as a part of explanation. Then you have to go with these things how you are getting just to explain, and then finally you conclude with these two equations. That is a external quantum efficiency. So this how we have to have the quantitative discussion of internal quantum efficiency, internal power generation, from internal power generation to external quantum efficiency, we arrived here. So another reason I want to quote, because it is beyond the scope, even I have gone through the things there. So intermediate steps are actually not actually required here. And another reason, it will make the things simple, so that it will let you to explain the other relevant things here about this Fresnel reflection. It's a contribution here. So why we are considering this T of pi as Fresnel reflection? Another reason you can infer by this one is, so we are discussing now about the external quantum efficiency, means how much power is actually coupling from what actually being generated from LED to the optical fiber. That is optical confinement we are discussing. Because once the power generated from the LED, if you are discussing how much it is coupling to the optical fiber in view of the optical confinement, then once whatever the thing is there, if it will reach the optical fiber, then losses will start happening. And 90% of the loss is happening because of this scattering, that is a Fresnel reflection. So that is sufficient to justify where we are considering T of pi as Fresnel transmittivity, not any other things. Okay. See, one thing I want to tell you here, for each slide, I'm taking here around 5 or 10 minutes. Okay. So this is possible. Even such kind of explanation means I'm not highlighting the things here, mine things. So if you read the particular slide or a page again and again, you will understand the things. So I don't know how many of you have downloaded the books there. I have quoted it many times. It is available in the Google and read the things. I told that the level of English is bit higher, but it takes some time to consolidate and settle the things. With only one slide here, you can see how much time it is taking. So in this way, we have to understand the things here. And today, just to summarize what I have discussed, we started with the basic underlying concepts of LED structures, surface or edge emitters, whatever, active reason, recombination process, how it has happened, and how we have seen today to measure its efficiency quantitatively. Just to go through the problem here, the radiative and non-radiative recombination lifetimes tau R and tau NR of minority carriers in the active region of a double heterojunction LED are 60 nanosecond, 90 nanosecond. Okay, tau R is 60 nanosecond, tau NR is 90 nanosecond. Determine the total carrier recombination lifetime. That is a 2. That is 1 by tau R, 1 plus 1 by tau NR. Substitute, you will get it. Very simple. And the optical power generated internally, internal optical power, not external. The peak emission wavelength is 870 nanometer and the drive current is 40 milliampere. I can substitute these things, internal quantum efficiency, that is a 2 by 2 R, 30 by 60, H Planck's constant. I told that it is not going to be given Planck's constant and Boltzmann constant. You have to remember, sometimes the mass of electron, the charge of electron, supposed to remember such certain commonly occurring things. Q and lambda. Q, we can see the charge of electron. You have to remember lambda. It is given there 870 nanometer. If you substitute all the things here systematically, use the calculator, you will get the things. See, the problems are very much straightforward, directly straightforward. Just requires what data has been asked and what data is given and what has been asked. Sometimes these numbers will be different because by looking at these things, suddenly you'll go through these steps. Instead of 870, it may be 12, 20 nanometer, or maybe the drive current may be different. You will ignore such small values and calculate it, assuming no, it is not 20, it is 40 milliampere. You will calculate it as it is taking 40 only. Understanding? So all data will be remaining same. This could be asked something like 60 instead of 60, it may be 30. Only one value might be changed. You will ignore it and assuming it as 60 only, you will do all the things because you haven't gone through the things correctly. So that's why we have to see the given data carefully. I told you many times, problems what you are getting in this subject are down to earth. It requires your attention. Make out what the data is given. Clear, you make it out. Sure about that. Sure about which formula you are using, correctly you are using or not. And use your proper calculations properly, calculator and handy notes. Otherwise, nothing is there. It's very simple. So another example, similar example, you can go through this one. It is available as a part of notes will be uploaded. So advantages and disadvantages can refer to the notes. So we'll stop for today's discussion here.